How does he emerge as one that suffered the most of all of the seven is my first question. My second question is, why are we lying also? Mandela was not released from Robben Island. He didn't serve 27 years at Robben Island. Mandela was released from Victor Verster, a prison in Paarl, a wine-producing community not far from Cape Town. I think it's an hour or so, an hour and a half, whatever, but it's not far. And at Victor Verster, Mandela was not living in a prison. He was living in a warden house, and he had servants and security, while his other 6 comrades were left behind on Robben Island. They didn't even know that he had been taken away from them. They actually went on hunger strike thinking he was killed. My other thing is also, why are we lying and making like Mandela is the one that suffered the most through our struggle? Steve Biko lost his life. His family did not benefit nothing from fighting against apartheid. So is countless millions of other people. I was not paid for sacrificing my youth, the most important decade of anybody. Between my 20th and 30th decade, I was in the camps fighting. So are many other of my comrades who have tuned in even now. We never got paid millions and given cars by BMW. Why is he emulated above everybody else? I was taught by O.R. Tambo that once the West start throwing a red carpet to any African leader, run away from them. They haven't sold you out. They've sold their own soul out. And then you have Robert Sobukwe, the person who suffered the most at Robben Island, president of the PAC at the time. The PAC have this as their symbol. They don't do the feast. Baba Jide, just look up. I see you're looking down. They don't do the feast. They do this.
I'm writing. I'm just making it. Yeah.
How did they arrive to this? Because he was isolated. Imagine being at least the 7 were together. Imagine being at Robben Island and being isolated. They say in the morning he would wake up and try and do this over the window of his cell just to say, I am alive, it's me. And then they gave him a slow poison through the years such that when he came out, he did not last. So me, I have no respect for Mandela, I repeat here. I think when Winnie Mandela was asked, also there's a documentary on Netflix, please watch it. I've watched it, and I can affirm that at least 90% to 93% of that is true. When she was asked, do you feel betrayed by Mandela? I will never forget the response. It's my family's favorite response. She said, at political level, yes. He betrayed me politically. Winnie didn't care that he had seen Grasha and was loving Grasha better than her. That's besides the point. Winnie said, the biggest betrayal I feel is the political betrayal, because she understood that Mandela had sold the birthright of Africans in this country. I think I'll leave it here. I'm sorry that I took so long.
Yes. I think I can appreciate your response. You may have misunderstood my comments, but your response, it's golden. I must say, it's golden, because you have now broken down, in a nutshell, the South African problem and the African problem. Okay, and from you talked about illegal migration, right? Illegal migration is not the problem. From what you've described, it's not the problem. What the problem is governance and government. That's the problem. Once you take care of government and governance, because of what you've described happens around illegal migration. Spaza shops were originally meant to be for South African citizens, South African indigenes, the black community specifically. Then all of a sudden they're issuing license to Pakistanis, etc. That's a governance issue. That's a government issue. That's number one. Then number two, because I know we're pressed for time as well, so I need to go through this pretty quickly.
I'm sorry, just allow me. Sorry, Babajide, just allow me for a second. We actually in South Africa no longer call it a governance problem. It's the ANC's anti-black problem. They don't like Africans. It's a very anti-black organization.
I'm struggling, honestly, Mama Kainsile. I'm really struggling with the comments you just made. I'm struggling with it, and I'm sure a lot of Africans would hear this and struggle with it. That you're saying, I know, it's just difficult for me to understand that you're saying ANC, it was and is anti-black.
Yes,
It's
because
difficult.
it's run by white people who stand under the false notion of white supremacy. So yes, because they're not.
Also,
They're
also,
coconuts.
It's
Babajide, that
yes.
is why the
Yes.
PAC marched out of the ANC in the first place, because they said this is not African enough. This is a liberal organization. You can't have liberalism when you have not decolonized.
And I think that's a great history to break down Mama
Yes.
Kanyisile quickly before Babajide goes.
Yeah.
Mama Kanyisile is
Yeah.
right.
So
The
okay.
ANC comes to a point where they want to start including white people in these matters. And Robert Sobukwe and others say we cannot do this. To fight for Black liberation, to fight for Black wellness, we cannot also include those who oppressed us. And he's completely uncompromising, like we are about it. And so he chooses to split from the ANC and create the PNC. And that there is what we all need to start looking at. That there is the crack that happens in South Africa. And that's where the betrayal begins.
And furthermore, Nduku, there's the PAC at the time, because it has also gone rogue, by the way. So I'm talking about the proper PAC here. The PAC at the time called the ANC the Charterists, because they then produced the Freedom Charter in 1955. And the preamble of the Freedom Charter is what was a problem to the PAC. South Africa belongs to all who live in it, both black and white. The PAC was just like, what? It's a pity we are online. I would have said this in the Gen Z language, you know. What? The what? Huh? Belongs to who? Who live in it, both black and white? No, we are in a wrong movement here. And then fast forward to both organizations get banned by the apartheid government. They go to exile. Nduku, who do you think the West supported? Who do you think the world supported between the PAC and the ANC? The ANC.
Obvious.
Because the agenda of the ANC did not look scary to whiteness. It also did not look, in Sankara's words, Sankara says Africa is not liberated because Africans are not mad enough. So the ANC's agenda didn't look mad enough to white people. It was sanitized, it was clean, it smelled it smelled of perfume. No. These people don't want us out. You know, they don't want to restore the dignity of Africans. They don't want to decolonize. They just want a spot at the table so they can also share with us the masters. So the PAC came back injured, disorganized. There was starvation in APLA camps. Their undoing was called APLA. There was starvation. They would starve. The people weren't supporting them. I take my hat off to Nyerere. He's one of the people who saw them through, really, and China. They were not supported by the rest of the world. That's how the ANC becomes more popular than the PAC. When I skipped and I joined the struggle, I end up in ANC camps, and through my arguments, some comrades whisper to my ears and they say, you're actually in a wrong movement. You should have gone to the PAC. But it wasn't a choice then, because the ANC was so popular. It was almost like there's no other vehicle. This is the vehicle to liberate people. So, no. That history for me is very important. I see the ANC as a very anti-black organization. And also, how Mandela's become an international icon. There's even an international Mandela Day. What? Why is there no international Steve Biko Day? The man was battered to death.
One of the sensitive topics in South Africa, it is around Nelson Mandela. It is a subject that ordinarily raises emotions than logic. Each time a debate is brought up about the role that struggle icon Nelson Mandela played in the struggle against apartheid and the liberation process, you hardly get a situation whereby people would debate this matter from the point of facts, logic, ideological standing, and political maturity. It is mainly clouded by judgment. Judgment from the both sides, from the pro-Nelson Mandela grouping and the anti-Nelson Mandela grouping, of which it is very problematic because it makes it very difficult for one to examine objectively the role Nelson Mandela played in the struggle for democracy in South Africa, the struggle against apartheid. Listen to this clip by Dr. Khanyisile Litchfield Chabalala and tell me what are your views on the matter. Go to the comment section and give me your views. Thank you for tuning in. My name is SEKHOSANA, Africa.